Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
All right. Um, there are still four, eh? Yeah, four students. Will start the work, but before that, I just want to know what happened yesterday. Uh, you didn't get the message that we had scheduled a lecture yesterday? What happened? I logged into the meeting, but no student came. I was waiting there for 15, yeah, around 15 until 7:45, and then after that I left. What happened?
Madam, I joined.
There was no one. Who is that? Gayani, you joined?
Yes. Yes, madam. Around 7:45, I waited. As it was not started, I also left.
I was waiting there till, yeah, till 7:44 or 45 maybe. Yes.
There were only three
Mm.
or four, madam, joined
They
yesterday.
definitely after I left, some students must have come. The thing is now I was waiting around 15 minutes now, so I just
Yes.
thought that it's pointless to wait, so I left the meeting. Anyway, now the thing is better to log in to the meeting on time. Otherwise, that kind of things might happen again. Because I was under the impression that you didn't get the link or you didn't get the message that there was a lecture yesterday. I thought like that. So the pointless waiting me now. So I thought of okay, then I would leave. That's what happened. Actually, yeah, it's better to come on time then, right? Otherwise, the thing is now we have several days, right? We have 20 hours to cover in this module, which means 10 days. We need to work, we need to have 10 sessions, which means 10 days. So I was asked actually by the campus to finish the module soon. And that is why we fix lectures for yesterday and today. Never mind. So before we start the discussion today, I think they will ask dates from me for the next month as well. Right now, this is the end of April now. Usually, okay. Now I also have a tight schedule, but may I know something about your works? I mean, usually which days are okay for you, so that then it is easy for me to like fix some sessions. Usually which days are all right for you? If I know something about your preferences, then it will be easy to fix, no? Right? Oh, any day is okay. I mean, I don't know whether you have any other module sessions for any other modules simultaneously. I don't know about that. Do you have other lectures as well at the same time?
They are sending us a timetable, madam.
Okay. Right. So you didn't still get the timetable for May, right?
No, 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 madam.
Okay. Okay. Right. Then, so any day will be okay ne, for you? You
Okay,
means
madam.
for you all? Right. Even during the weekends.
Okay, madam.
Others also please talk, because now this is quite interactive and discussing. No? Otherwise, if we have, like, if you are going to fix some lectures in days where you can't attend, and if you solely rely on watching the video recordings of the lectures, then that is not the point, right? No, I mean, no use at all, as I told you in the very first day. So, therefore, please talk Please talk. Well, then I will see. But the thing is, every Sunday is not okay for me, right? I was working last Sunday with you, and this is also Sunday, but not next Sunday like that. Some Sundays I'm occupied with some other work. Anyway, you will receive, right? You will receive the timetable accordingly. Please join the lectures. And all right, so then we'll start the discussion now, right? Some students have come and I will share the screen. Right. I'm going to continue the discussion from where I have stopped during the previous session, right? Because I do not believe in spending time for any recap sessions because we have quite a lot to complete, cover, discuss. And the other reason is you get the recording. So if you missed any part, you can refer to the recording anyway. Even after coming to the lectures, if you think that certain parts are not clear or you have missed, then you still have the chance to refer to the recordings. So I will not divert my attention to the previous topics I have discussed, but just for you to refresh as a whole what we discussed. Still, this is the first topic. I talked about the nature of language, right? The nature of language, and there we were talking about this rule govern. Sorry, that is what we are going to discuss today. But these signs. Okay, I will go back. Right, these areas. The nature of human language, this is the first topic. And fundamental beliefs about language and linguistic science. So these are the two areas we had the discussion on during the previous session. And today I'm going to discuss 1.3, and this should be 1.4, okay? I'm sorry, check your notes, right? And 1.4, the rule govern nature of language and animal communication codes. All right, if possible, if time would be left, I might go to the next topic as well. We'll see that, right? Okay, then the rule govern nature of language, right? Okay, we'll go to the place. Okay, now under this first topic, we are talking about the nature of language. Okay, the nature of language in different perspectives. And here we are going to focus our attention to the rule govern nature. That means now, whenever we talk about the nature of language, we definitely know that there are rules. Specifically speaking, we know that there are grammar rules everywhere in every component in any language. There are rules to follow. So if we use any language, actually, I'm not specifically talking about a language, right? It can be any language used by the human beings at every level. At every level of any language, there are rules to follow. So if we do not follow these rules, what will happen? Our listener or the reader will understand that we have violated some grammar rules, and whatever we are telling cannot be accepted to be correct. They will quickly notice that we have done mistakes or errors, okay, which is not accepted. If we are to use an accepted form of language, we should be free of grammar errors. Okay, there has to be correct form without errors, which means ultimately what do we mean? Any language is governed by the rules. And if there are violations of any rule, that language is considered to be used incorrectly. And people do not accept this incorrect form. So this is a basic idea. Now, whenever we talk about language, although we do not superficially say language is rule governed, we know within our mind, okay, there should be a set of rules. And we need to adhere to these rules. We need to follow these rules. That is there within our minds as a fact. Okay. And subconsciously, we follow the rules whenever we speak or whenever we write using any language. Yeah. Now, keeping that basic idea in the minds, let's have a look at these ideas also. Yeah, language signs occur in a system. Now, earlier we were talking about language signs. Hope you remember the three types of signs or symbols. Right. Now, here we say all these signs occur in a system. Right. And system, in Sinhala we have the word paddhatiya, right? So what do you mean by system? System is, the idea is there here, a collection of smaller units that function in connection to one another. I think during the previous session, I was talking about the meaning of the word system in relation to language. We say language is a system, right? Language, any language is a system because there are some units, subunits or smaller units that we can find within any language. We call them components of language, right? Components. And these components are what actually? What are these components? Say subsystems. They are the sound systems, right? Sound system, word system, sentence system, meaning system, right? These are the components of language. And these components function independently as well as in connection to one another. For example, sound system and word system both are interconnected. And sentence system and meaning system are interconnected. Word system and meaning system are interconnected. So everywhere we can find interconnections. But at the same time, each subsystem or each component can function on its own. Okay, right. That is the nature of the structure of any language. And that is why we say language functions as a system. Right. Then where are the rules then? We are talking about the rule governed nature of language. These smaller units are organized on certain principles or rules. Okay. Sound system or the component which we call sound system is made of a set of rules, which we exactly call here phonological rules. And word system runs on a set of rules called morphological rules. And sentence system is governed by another set of rules which we call syntactic rules, or in simple terms, grammar. We call grammar means grammar rules means syntactic rules. And also there are semantic rules too. So every level we can find rules, principles and rules that are controlling that particular system. So each component or each subsystem is rule governed. As a whole, we say language is rule governed. That's the idea. May I know whether you got this point clearly? Why do we say language is rule governed? That idea, is that clear up to this part? Yeah. Yes. If anything is not clear or if I'm talking too fast, you still can stop me, right? And add your idea, right? Okay. Well, now when we talk about this rule governed system, okay, Asana, right? Thanks for the message. Yeah, when we talk about this rule governed nature of language, there are a lot of things now, when we talk about grammar, it itself is the like spine of language, right? Without grammar, we can never ever think of using language. Right now, some people might think, okay, without grammar, we still can use language. We can talk without bothering about grammar rules. We can communicate without considering grammar rules. Like that, people might argue, but still I should say here, without grammar, language cannot exist because language runs on the basis of grammar rules. Rules. The foundation is made by the rules, principles and rules. If there are issues in the foundation, or if the foundation is weak, the whole building will collapse. It is like that. Okay, so when we talk about this grammar or rule govern nature of language, we meet these words, okay, these concepts. One is grammatical competence. Actually, we have two opposing words, competence versus performance. These two words are very important for you to know, because when we talk about uh, grammar or rule govern nature of language, we meet these two. One is competence, means grammatical competence, right? What do you understand by that? Grammatical competence. Now, you know the word competence means in general ability, or else we can say knowledge. She is very competent in English. Very competent in English. What do we understand? We understand that she is good in English. She has the knowledge of English. She can use the English language, competent in English. She has the knowledge of the English language and she can use it. Competent is the adjective anyway, competence. Ability, right? Oh, like the knowledge. Now here grammatical competence then. Underlying system of a language which is a part of the internalized grammar of a speaker. Now internalized means within the mind of the speaker of any language, he has stored or saved some kind of a knowledge about the grammar of that language. Now, for example, I am here talking using the English language, and within my mind, I have a set of grammar rules of the English language. Subconsciously, I am referring to this set of grammar rules when I produce language, either by speaking or in writing. Okay, right? I hope you can follow my idea. So grammatical competence means this system, underlying system of language that is there within the mind of the speaker, and that is internalized grammar. Internalized, the word internalized means within the mind of the speaker. In other words, okay, you can understand grammatical competence to be the knowledge of the grammar knowledge, which is there in the mind of the speaker. Right. Uh, yeah. Now we have the word performance also. But before that, there's another explanation. Grammatical competence is complete and perfect. But performance may be incomplete and imperfect, and this is a difference between these two words, right? And I hope you have understood something about competence, grammatical competence. What do you mean by performance then? Performance, performance means production of language, right? A person knows the language, knows about the language, and that knowledge is there within the mind. And using that knowledge, he produces language either verbally or in writing. Okay, either verbally, oral production or written production. That is what you mean by performance. Now I have a question for you. Do you think that all the time this competence and performance tally, or do these two balance within a person? What do you think about? Yes or no? Which means a person performs exactly what he knows. Does it happen like that in practical world? Yes or no? Any idea? In other words, actually, I'm asking, is it like this? Competence equals to performance. Yes or no?
No.
Hmm? No. Yes. Competence doesn't equal to performance. Okay, now in simple day-to-day life, when you listen to people talking using any language, right? Let's say second language, because there are more chances for a person to make mistakes in second language rather than the mother tongue. Mother tongue is quite okay profession. When a person is talking in English, haven't you observed that person is making some mistakes or errors? These mistakes may be pronunciation, mispronunciation cases, or some grammar mistakes, right? Subject verb agreement like that, and incorrect use of tenses. Okay, and the use of inappropriate words used by the person may not be suitable according to the style and the situation and the topic, etc. Such things often happen. Does that mean, okay, does that mean that person doesn't have the required knowledge of the English language? What do you think? A person is making mistakes and errors, but does that mean he doesn't have enough knowledge? No, he has the knowledge of the English language. Knowledge is there. It is an abstraction. Concept, knowledge, you can't see the knowledge, no? It is there within the mind. Okay? It is something abstract, but performance happens physically, either orally or in writing. And always, performance does not show the exact competence, the complete knowledge that person has, due to so many reasons. Right? Imagine that you sit for a exam paper. Right? You study, you learn certain things by heart also, and you study and you go for a 3-hour paper. And during the allocated time period, do you think you are performing exactly what you know within your mind? No. Due to so many reasons, you may not be able to write down the answers. But you have the knowledge within you. Due to so many reasons, like what? Excitement, lack of time, okay, a lack of memory, confusions. It is it. Due to so many reasons, performance is affected, right? You may not be able to perform, but that doesn't mean you don't know the knowledge. You don't have the knowledge, right? Okay. So that is why here we say grammatical competence is usually complete and perfect. It's complete and perfect knowledge, but performance may be incomplete and imperfect. We always can't perform as how we are competent. Always there is a gap between competence and performance. Okay, hope that point is clear to you. And now we are talking about this rule governed nature. Then we say the rules of language act as a kind of constraint on what is possible in a language. Yeah. And sometimes we observe this factor, right? We observe that these rules that are there in any language can constrain or restrain the use of language. It can constrain the possibilities of language rules. They delimit the scope of the production of language. That is there. Because of the rules, we are limited in the production of using anything, using language. How does that happen? There are some examples there in this paragraph. Uh, yeah, I think this paragraph is there in your note also. Could you please go through these lines now and get the idea? Now we talk about syntax, for example, at the beginning. Syntax, right? Syntax means studying the production of sentences, or studying how words are arranged to form a sentence. Syntax. Then the rules of English permit, I like soap operas. Now this sentence is correct according to English grammar. I like soap operas, or soap operas I like. Even the second sentence is also okay, accepted to be correct, but not like soap operas I. This type of a sentence is considered to be wrong, means ungrammatical. Ungrammatical, it doesn't follow the grammar rules. Therefore, it is not permitted by the rules of the language. So we can't arrange words within a sentence as we wish, here and there. There has to be a logical order, right? Logical order. Now you know about different sentence patterns that are allowed in English grammar: SV, SVO, SVC, SVOO, SVOA, SVOC, like etc, right? Basically there are 7 sentence patterns, and more than that we can create grammatically correct patterns. We can create more than 7 also. So all these are okay, but any pattern that doesn't follow like soap opera side, that kind of construction is considered to be ungrammatical. It doesn't follow any accepted sentence structure, sentence pattern. Therefore, such kind of utterances are not allowed. So, there are the rules of language are constraining different possibilities of producing language. That's the point. And talking about word formation, that means morphology. This is another example from morphology area, word formation area. Overnight is a possible verb, right? You know about overnight, you must be using this word now, overnight. It's a possible verb expressing a length of time, right? Like this, the climbers overnighted on a rock ledge. Overnight. It talks about how long, right? Length of time. Meaning is length of time. But still, we have another English word, midnight. Just like overnight, we have midnight also. But midnight doesn't talk about any length of time or duration. It talks about a point in time. Therefore, it is not considered to be a verb. We never say the revelers midnighted in the streets. Can we use the word midnight like that? No. Overnight can be used as an action verb, but not midnight. So there are differences like that. All those same prefixes there, right? We can't use the verbs, these words as we wish. There are constraints. So the possibilities of using verbs in this way are curtailed because of the set of rules. And there's another example about phonological rules. Phonological rules are related to the sounds, arranging sounds to form verbs, right? According to the phonological rules, what about this? Prac. English would permit the word prac. Prac, actually, it is taken as an example. Such a word is not there in English language, but still, prac is okay, right? We can use a word like prac. Oh, it's like this. We can combine sounds to create a word like prac. It is possible. But still, this type of a sound combination is not possible. PSABR. Now, can you try to pronounce this? This one? Can you pronounce this combination of sounds? Yes or no? Can you say this word? No, it's not possible. We can't generate this type of a sound combination. But we can generate sound combination like prac. Why? What are the reasons? Because of the existence of phonological rules. So Pratt follows phonological rules, whereas this second combination doesn't follow phonological rules. Okay, now later on we will get a chance to talk about this phonetics and phonology detail. But here I want you to talk about this point. Okay, why do we say the rules of language can constrain the production of language in several different possibilities? These are the examples why. And there are more examples in the next part. Again, morphological rules, right? Talking about morphological rules. Yeah. If prac were a verb, the past tense would be pract using ed. Okay. Pronounced with a final t sound, not the d or ed that is found in other past tense forms. And if prac were a noun, the plural would be praxis, pronounced with final is sound, not s or z sound that is found in other plural forms. I want you to leisurely read this part. You would understand the point here. How these rules are limiting us. How these rules are limiting our pronunciation. Okay. The idea is this: when we are pronouncing, okay, when we are using the language orally, especially for example, when we want to pronounce past tense verb. In writing, of course, it is not a matter, right? It's not an issue. In writing, at the end of regular verbs, we add ed, to make it past in writing, like walked, talked, danced, etc., painted, etc., ed. We add ed. But in pronunciation, all the time we do not end the pronunciation of the past tense verb with the sound. Sometimes we end with the, sometimes we end with the, right? And some other times we end the verb, past tense verb, with id sound, like painted. Painted, painted, no, right? That is not the proper pronunciation. Painted, painted. So it's like id sound, okay? And walked, walked, in writing. In speaking, this ed is pronounced mostly as t sound, walked. But talked, talked, there, ed is pronounced as the, talked. I talked to him, like that. That is what you can see here, exemplified using the verb pract in relation to the past tense formation as well as plural formation. Plural is all the same, right? Now we make a noun plural by adding s or es, no? But all the time the plural noun will not be pronounced with the same ending sound like s. Sometimes we hear z, like dogs, D-O-G-S in writing, but this letter S is pronounced as not as s, but as z, dogs. But cats, sir is pronounced as sir, cats. Buzzes, a little bit different, right? It's like is sound. Buzzes. I hope you can catch this idea how rules of a language can limit us in producing different types of words or sentences or expressions. We can't do so. Always rules are limiting us, right? To understand that point, I think these examples are enough for you. When I invite you all to read these two sets of examples again later on also, then you will fully understand, if not now. Okay, right. Then we come to another discussion, still talking about the nature of language. Language universals, innateness and creativity. Okay, that is where we are going to talk about principles and parameters in relation to language. Right, language universals. I think you must be familiar with the term universal grammar, UG. Have you heard this one, UG? If you are familiar with some theories, okay? Uh, First language acquisition theories or second language learning theories, the theories that are related to language acquisition and learning, you must be, if yes, then you must be familiar with innatism, right? Introduced by Noam Chomsky. I'm not going to talk about all these theories now, but I just want to talk a little bit more about these language universals, innateness, as well as creativity, right? According to Chomsky, right? Human beings are born to this world with an ability to acquire language, with an ability to acquire any language. So, depending on where the person is born, depending on the particular context or country or community where the person is born, he will acquire the language, the relevant language. That is the argument of Noam Chomsky. So he is emphasizing this idea, this language ability, ability of language, right? Language, this ability he calls language acquisition device, LAD, LAD, language acquisition device. So any person has this LAD within his brain, okay? When he is born to the world, he comes with this device, language acquisition device. By using that device, he acquires the particular language. Right now, UG means universal grammar. And further to Chomsky, he says, this LAD, this language acquisition device, consists of universal grammar, which means some grammar patterns that are universal to any language. Basic, basic grammar principles that can be seen in any language. Okay. But depending on the particular language, how these basic features can change, right? Depending on the particular language, we can see how these universal grammar concepts are changing. Now, for example, one simple example, lad contains the idea that there is a past tense, for example, right? There is a past tense. Any language has past tense verbs, no? So the universal grammar, the concept in relation to UG is that the past tense forms are available. It's there. But when the person is born in a particular speech community, he or she, that baby, acquires the particular language. And that language, either Sinhala or Tamil or English or whatever, by in the process of acquiring that language, the baby will learn what the exact past tense forms of that language are. If the baby is born in Sinhala community, right? Gia. Example. Yanama, the base form, go, right? And went means Gia. So the verbs like Gia, Kava, Biwa, Nidagatta, okay? Such words the baby will acquire with the help of that concept, that UG, which mentions about the past availability of the past tense verbs. Okay. In English, went, slept, drank, ate, like that. These verbs. So language universals are the features of language which are not language specific. Right? Language universals means UG, universal grammar, that are not language specific, which means language universals do not change from language to language. They are common to languages in general, just like the existence of past tense verb forms. Okay, right. And the notion of principles and parameters is coming now, okay, in this discussion. Then you need to clearly understand the difference between these two words, principles and parameters. You have the idea here, right? What is meant by the word principles then? The shared elements of language are called principles of that language. Shared elements of language, which means elements that are common to any language. They are the language principles. Then parameters, the differences that are displayed in their syntax. Syntax means grammar, right? Which means grammatical differences are known as parameters. Then you should understand parameters are language specific. From language to language, grammar rules are different. We don't find the Sinhala grammar rules in English or vice versa, nothing. No. From language to language, grammar rules are different. But principles do not change from language to language, they are common. Okay? Right? Yeah, now we have some examples to understand this further. Yes. Can you refer to this example? Yeah, I will give you 1 or 2 reading minutes, right? Reading time. Because if I just quickly go on explaining this, you will not catch the idea. You can read from screen, right? If you don't have the hard copy, no problem. You have the thing in the screen. So please go through this example and get the idea. Okay. Right. Now here we have an example on principle and parameters, right? Principle, according to this example, actually what is the principle? A sentence has a subject. A sentence has a subject in any language. Okay. You know what subject is? Subject, if it is about active voice sentence, subject contains the doer of the action. Right. The topic of the sentence is contained by the subject, and that's the principle. But the thing is, all the languages do not express this principle in the same way. Right? In some languages like English and German, the subject must be very overtly expressed. Whereas in other languages like Japanese and Chinese, it is generally omitted, and in yet other languages like Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, pronoun subjects tend to be omitted. Now, can you find 3 different ways of using the principle can be observed? 3 different ways. Some languages use the subject, and some languages omit the subject, okay? And some other languages still omit the subject if it is containing pronouns. Like example, you can have a compare list here. English, right? English one, Lily is going to the beach. She is going to the beach. Okay, right now these sentences are clear, no? They are correct. Because you can find whether the subject contains a proper noun or pronoun. It is there in English. Now, normally we do not use English sentences without subject. Subject is there. We use the subject. So then in English, sentences like going to the beach are wrong. They are wrong because no subject. There's no subject there. Okay, right. And in German, the same idea, but my pronunciation may not be exact, right? Lily gets zum Strand. She gets zum Strand, right? These two sentences are correct in German also, but get zum Strand, that sentence is not correct because subject is missing. So in that respect, English and German both are bit same. Okay, right. And what about Spanish then? Lily va la playa. I'm really sorry for the pronunciation right now, but just pay attention to the expressions here. Now, this sentence, the first sentence with the subject is correct. And in the second sentence, right, you don't find the proper noun. Lily is not there, but still the sentence is correct, right? Okay. And the third sentence, no subject at all, right? No subject at all. No, either pronoun or proper noun, no. Nothing is there, but still the sentence is correct. So, overt use of subject is not compulsory in Spanish. You understand the differences. Only 3 languages are compared here, but still you can extend the comparison to other languages as well in order to understand how this principle is differently used. Principle is there, that subject should be there, but that is different. So the parameter specifies whether in a given language the subject can be omitted or not. According to the parameter, we say, okay, the subject should be there or not. Whether the subject should be available or not is decided by the particular parameter of that language. Okay. So according to the parameter of Spanish, omission of subject is all right. But according to the parameter of English and German, omission of subject is a problem. It should be there. Okay, right. Then we say UG includes both principles and parameters, which together explain the features that all languages share and the syntactic differences which make each language unique, right? LAD usually contains principles, but UG talks about both principles and parameters, right? Then I hope you got the difference between these two concepts, principles and parameters. Based on that, you have this small work actually. Yeah, some statements are there, 10. Oh, yeah. Some statements are given. You need to decide whether they represent principles or parameters. Principles, the meanings are again given within brackets. Principles means universal features of languages in general, and parameters means the differences in the syntax of specific languages, right? So you decide whether statement A represents a principle or a parameter, whether B represents principle or parameter, like that, right? I hope the question is clear, and I want your active work as well as contribution to the discussion when we are going to talk about the answers. Okay, right. I'll give you a few minutes to complete this work. Few minutes means, yeah, you need to read and understand also. So 5 to 7 minutes, right? Take maximum 5 or 7 minutes and identify uh, whether they are principles or parameters. Right. Okay. Please do the work now. Yes. Okay. Uh, Hope you have done the work. What about the first statement? In statements, the subject precedes the verb. Now, could you please talk and tell me your findings, answers? Is this a parameter or a principle? The first statement. It says, in statements, the subject precedes the verb. Subject occurs before the verb. That's the idea. What are your understandings? Always subject occurs before the verb in statements.
Parameter.
Asana, can't hear. Not clear.
Parameter, madam.
Parameter. Uh-huh. Any other different idea, different answer? Means anybody who is arguing that this is a principle? No. Right. Correct. That's a parameter. And B, there are question words that request information about who, what, when, etc. I think you had enough time to think about these statements, right? So therefore, now please talk. Second statement, is it parameter or principle? Question words that are used to request information like who, what, when, where, how, why, that kind of things.
Principle, madam.
That's the principle. See, there exists a system for negation. See, negation means no, saying no, okay, right? And there are, now according to this idea, there exists a system for negation. Is that a principle or a parameter? Existence of a particular, system for negation. How do you understand? Others also can say your answers. Yeah. C, third one. I don't think you should take a long time because we have discussed these two concepts. And you can, yeah.
Principle, madam.
Yes, C is a principle, correct? That's a principle. System for negation is there in any language, but the thing is, the system can vary from language to language. How we express no, that can vary from language to language, but still there is a system of expressing no or negation. Right? That's a principle. D, questions are formed by inverting the subject and verb. Yeah, you know about subject verb inversion, right? You usually form questions by subject verb inversions. No? D. Does it happen in any language the same way? Principle or parameter?
Parameter,
That's
madam.
a parameter. Yeah, that's a parameter because we can find this in English language, not in every other language, right? That's a parameter. And E, a sentence contains a subject, though it may not be overtly expressed. Sentence can contain a subject, it may not be overtly expressed. E. That is similar to the example we discussed earlier. So very easy. Yes.
Principle, madam.
That's the principle. That's the principle. Yes, correct. And if adjectives precede the noun that they modify, uh, which means adjectives occur in front of the noun, they modify. Principle or parameter?
Parameter, madam.
Parameter. In English, we know there are several types of adjectives, but basically attributive and predicative. So only attributive adjectives occur before the noun. They modify. Talking about predicative adjectives, they do not come in front of the noun within the English language itself, right? So this happens in different ways in the other languages. So it's not common. It's not a shared principle. So that's a parameter, right? G, the basic word order of a sentence is SU means a subject, SVO. Subject, verb, object. The basic word order. Is that so in every language? SVO. Yeah. Yes, Asana? Yeah, Gaini?
It's
No,
parameter,
it's a
madam.
parameter, madam.
Exactly. Right. That's very clear. It's a parameter. And next one, in statements, the subject must be overtly expressed. The subject must be overtly expressed. H. Do you think so?
It's a parameter, madam.
It's a parameter, yes. Because we earlier also saw no, in the previous example, the subjects, there are languages where subject is not overtly expressed, like Spanish, right? Tense is indicated by adverbials. That is I. Yeah. Tense is indicated by adverbials like, okay, yesterday, today, tomorrow, next year, next month, like that. Tense is indicated by adverbials. What do you think?
Parameter, madam.
That's a parameter because we find that in English and also Sinhala too. What about Tamil, Asana? Do you have any idea about that? What happens in Tamil language? Do you
No,
express tense in adverbial using adverbials?
no, even without adverbials, we can identify the tense, madam.
Exactly, right. That's it. So even in English, it's like that, right? Even without the adverbial, by referring to the verb phrase, we can get an idea regarding the tense of the action. So this is a parameter, right? And nouns refer to people, places, or things. J. Does it happen in English only or Sinhala only or Tamil only or is it something common? Nouns refer to people, places, or things. How? How do you understand?
Principal, madam.
That's the principle. Correct. The last one, there is a means of expressing number, right? There is a means. Means a way of expressing number. And it doesn't say which way or which means, but there is a means of expressing number. What about that? Last one, principle or parameter?
Principal, madam.
Principle. That's a principle. But from language to language, this how numbers are expressed can change. Then that is in relation to parameters. This is a principle. Okay, right. The answers are there. So you have correctly given the answers, and those who were not talking must have been thinking about the same answers, I hope. Right, then, well, yes. We are going to continue our discussion with innateness of language. We are referring to LAD here. Now, earlier also I introduced LAD. Here you have it because now our subtopic is language is innate, right? This is the idea emphasized in the theory called innatism, founded by Noam Chomsky. Okay, right. Now you need to understand what you mean by this innate. What do we mean by this? We say people are born with an inborn capacity for language acquisition, right? And are genetically equipped to learn a language. Now, the language is not genetic. You understand? In human beings, language is not genetic because we don't get our mother tongue from our genes. We get our mother tongue from outside, from the society, from the context, from the community, from our parents or adults, not from genes. But within our genes, we have the capacity to acquire any language. That is why we say we are genetically equipped to learn a language, but not a particular or specific language, but in general human language. Okay, and that is what we here identify as LAD, Language Acquisition Device, founded by Noam Chomsky. All right. Then child acquiring language is innately equipped with both principles and parameters, but the parameters become set as language learning processes. Yeah, principles are there as well as the parameters, but parameters will be coming to the surface level. The child will acquire parameters with the help of the lad, right? Once the child is exposed to the language background or language learning process, right? And there's the other idea, language is creative. Yeah. I think I'm not talking these ideas in very detail. You are introduced to these concepts and theories, that's all, right? Not discussing them in very detail. Right now, here we have another idea saying language is creative. Creativity in language has these two aspects, right? See what these two are. Creativity. Human beings can produce and understand novel sentences and new words. Right? Human beings, by using any human language, can produce and also can understand. Novel means new, newly produced sentences. Or they can produce new sentences as well as new words. That is one aspect of creativity of language. The other aspect, we can create sentences, okay, of infinite length. Although there are obviously practical limits on length, right? The length is also infinite or limitless actually. There is no particular exact length assigned. If we want, we can expand a sentence by using number of phrases, clauses, depending on what we want to express. Length is infinite and the number of novel sentences is also infinite, unlimited. That is the idea behind creativity. And there's another similar word, creativity or productivity. And that is one main characteristic of language or property of language, right? Creativity or productivity of language. Yeah, there's an example there. In the nursery rhyme, we have, this is the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the mole, that lay in the house that Jack built. So you can understand how long this sentence is. It starts here and ends here, adding so many ideas, right? With phrases and clauses. If you want to lengthen this sentence, still you have the chance. You can add more phrases and clauses and make it lengthier than that. So that ability is there, right? That possibility is there in any language, not only in English, in any language, any human language. That is what we mean by creativity. Okay, right. Well, actually, there are many more other properties of language to be discussed. But here I limit myself to these points only. What about that? I have already sent these notes, right? I think I have sent these to, who is she now? Mahishio, I can't remember. Yeah, she is not available, but she said that she she shared the notes with the students. Okay, Tushara. If you want, I can send it to the chat box now also, but already I have sent it. What about the others? Other students, you also don't have the lecture
Yes,
material?
ma'am. Yes, yes. Okay. Already have it the group.
Yeah, Tushara, please collect it from the group then. Huh? Okay.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Fine. Right, and I have sent the next lecture material also. Make sure you have received it, okay? Next lecture material means the lecture note of the next topic. I have said that also. That is on consonants and vowels. Right. Well, yeah, now we are coming to the next topic, that is on animal communication codes, right? Animal communication codes, in other words, animal language. Now, code, the word code refers to language. Okay, then animal communication codes means different ways animals are communicating. Now we can use the word animal language, no problem, but still there are some issues in using the word language to refer to animal communication systems. Usually we use the word language to refer to human languages. The English language, the Sinhala language, the Tamil language, likewise. But animal communication systems do not have all the properties or the characteristics human language has no. Because of that reason, using the word language to refer to animal communication systems is little bit doubtful. But still you can find in so many places where you have the word animal language, right? But be aware of that. In common, we can say animal communication codes to refer to language. And here you have some features or characteristics of animal communication codes. We'll see how many, right? Yeah. These properties are there. I want you to go through them and be clear with them, because animal language, we all know, right? Know in the sense we know the fact that animals are communicating. Using their own systems, animals are communicating. But how do we compare their communication systems or their languages with our languages, human languages? Definitely we find differences. There are so many differences, but among them, here you can find some listed, right? So I want you to have a small reading time, go through these and try to understand and follow these ideas at your best until I go for a small discussion, right? Take 2-3 minutes to go through them. Yes, first point. Most animal languages are indexical and stimulus bound, depending on the necessary presence of concrete stimuli. Right now, these are the keywords I was underlining that will help you catch the idea. Right now, what do we understand with this first point about the nature of the animal languages? Now, by now you know about these signs, right? Indexical, iconic signs. So we say animal languages are indexical. They are bounded by, or they show a particular direction. The sign itself indicates a particular direction. Okay, indexical means that, and also stimulus bound, which means animals are reacting. Okay, they are reacting or communicating uh, on a particular stimulus. Always their languages are stimulus bound. There should be a stimulus for them to react. Okay, whenever they see something, whenever they hear something, right? Whenever, whatever they feel something, they react. Stimulus bound all the time. Their communications are bounded by stimulus, depending on the necessary presence of concrete stimuli. Now, you know, the stimuli, the word stimuli in Sinhala, we understand it as tejake, right? Uttejake. So always there is a kind of concrete stimuli for an animal to react, okay, or respond. That is why we say stimulus bound, right? And then second idea, the topic of conversation must be present in the immediate environment. It cannot be displaced in time or space. And this is a very good point to differentiate between human language and animal language. Big difference, right? Now, in one word, we say displacement. I am not going to write here, but hope you can clearly hear it. Displacement. We say displacement is available in human language, but not available in animal language, because human language is not bounded by particular environment or present time. Our languages are not limited to the present time or the immediate environment, right? Because we human beings can use any language and talk about anything that happened in the past or that will happen in future. We can predict, we can guess, and we can imagine, and we can say all these things, which means human language is not limited to the present time only. But what do you think about the animals? Animal language is limited to the present time, the exchange of information to the present time only. You never ever find two animals to be communicating about their past or future. There are some exceptions, okay? There are some exceptions in the animal world, like honeybees. You know about honeybees? And honeybees are very famous for their brains and their communicative ability, right? It is said that honeybees, after they return from flowers, when they bring nectar from flowers, and when they are back in their with their colleagues, right, in the beehive, they perform particular dances, round dance and waggle dance, so that the other bees can get an idea regarding where the flowers are, from which they can go and collect nectar, right? The sources, the food sources. Honeybees are indicating about how far the food sources are there, and at which direction the food sources are located, by performing these round and waggle dances. So in that sense, they are communicating some ideas, right, that belong to their past experience. So there are particular exceptions, but as a whole, we say animals are capable of communicating about the things in the present time as well as present or immediate environment. Right? The human beings can use language and talk about any place, not only the immediate environment, right? We can talk about, we can just imagine things that may be happening in USA now, or in Colombo now, or maybe in another planet, right? But animals don't have that ability. That is what is called the property of language called displacement, and that can be seen in human language. But animal language doesn't have displacement. Their communication is limited to the time and the place, not displaced. Their communication is placed. Okay, right. So that is an important observation of animal communication. And then iconic and natural, but not symbolic. Yeah, animal communication or animal languages are mostly iconic, natural, or indexical, but not symbolic. Human beings use languages that are symbolic. Right. And then codes are finite, not infinite or creative. Right now, we are talking about animal language here now. So then animal communication codes are finite. That's the idea. They have limited number of expressions, not infinite or creative like human language. And there's a closed repertory of utterances. Closed repertory means limited number of utterances. Now, we don't say animals are using utterances, but they are using some expressions, some types of sound combinations. And that the number of combinations is quite limited, closed, unlike the human beings, human language. Right? And the codes are acquired exclusively through genetic transmission, the other important feature in animal language. Okay, genetic transmission, not learned, unlike the human language. We say human languages are learned. In other words, one property of human language is cultural transmission. We say human languages are culturally transmitted. Okay, human babies are learning and acquiring language from the society, from the culture. Okay, with the help of lab. But what about animal babies? They don't learn, okay, how to use language from their parents, no? You never find the mama cat is teaching the kittens how to say meow. Even without the mama cat, right? The kittens develop, right? They develop in the sense they later, after few days of birth, right? They start meowing without anybody teaching them. So therefore, we say animal languages are coming from genes. There is this genetic transmission, whereas human languages are culturally transmitted. Cultural transmission. Okay. So during our discussion of animal communication codes, I was comparing and contrasting animal language with human language also. Okay. Right. We will move on to the next one. Yeah, followings are not possible within animal communication codes. These things cannot happen. Right? Animals can't do these things. What are they? Using language to refer to abstractions or non-existent entities like humans. Abstraction means concepts which can't be touched, which do not have physical existence. Like what are they? What are the abstractions? Any example? If you remember anything now? Like talking about happiness, sadness, emotions, right? They don't have any physical existence. We can't touch happiness. Happiness we feel only, right? It's an abstraction, concept, non-existent entities, right? Non-existent means we can say like imagine things, right? Things that are imagined, In Sinhala, we use the word this manakalpita. Okay. These dragons, Spider-Man, Supermans, and all these sort of mans. Do you have, sorry, have you ever seen these men on the streets? When you go somewhere by the side of the roads, the Spider-Mans are hanging here and then all these things? No. They are not existing in reality, but existing in movies, in our fictions, right? So still human beings can talk about them, although they are not really existing. And the concepts like heaven and hell, we are talking about, we have strong beliefs about that there is a heaven. If you make sin, you will not go to heaven, but hell. We are talking about these things, but actually these things, whether these things are existing or not, is a doubt, right? And animals do not have that chance, that opportunity. They can't use language to talk about abstractions or anything that is not existing. They can't use language. And also, animals can't use language to reflect about language itself. And in one word, we say metalinguistically. Now, metalinguistic use of language means now this itself is an example. Now, what do? I am using the language, I'm using the English language to talk about the nature of the language. Okay, that is what we mean by meta language. It means using language to talk about language, to talk about the nature of language. We human beings can do so, right? We can talk about the nature of the English language, properties of the English language, or Sinhala language, or Tamil, so on. But animals can't do so because they don't use language to talk about the nature of language, but they use whatever type of communication system to get their physical needs done. That is all. Metalinguistic use is not available in animal languages. Right. Okay. Well, this is what I wanted to talk about animal communication codes. Right. And then, yes, the nature of grammar. There's another part on the nature of grammar where we are going to have a look at the definitions of grammar and fallacies concerning grammar. Right. Before we talk about the fallacies means misconceptions, right? Definitions of grammar. Now now when we talk about the definitions, you know, how grammar, the concept of grammar is defined from various perspectives. That's the idea. So accordingly, we have these concepts called internalized grammar, descriptive grammar, prescriptive grammar, right? Sometimes you must have heard about this descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar, these things. Well, so rather than me talking about these different conceptions one by one, I want you to again have a small reading time because at a stretch, I don't want to talk and I don't think you to be listening at a stretch without your own involvement in the work is fruitful, okay, or useful. All of you have the note with you, know, right? Just go through these definitions of grammar along with their examples and be familiar with this. Now, there are three types: internalized grammar, descriptive, and prescriptive. Yes, try to be familiar with what you mean by these different types of grammar. Okay, right. For that, I'll give you small reading time, and you need to read up to the fallacies. Okay, right. Take few minutes. Okay. Right. Yes, earlier we were talking about grammatical competence, right? And that is what we here mean by internalized grammar. Internalized grammar. And what about descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar? The difference between these two types of grammar. Descriptive, prescriptive, because these two are quite frequently used whenever we talk about grammar. Descriptive, formulation of the speaker's grammar in a set of rules. Right? Okay, I'll first read these lines. Prescriptive grammar, that means regulatory rules, establishing and maintaining a standard of correctness in the language to prescribe and proscribe certain ways of speaking. Actually, descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar, we can understand as having a look at grammar from two different perspectives. Okay, looking at grammar from two different perspectives. Descriptive grammar doesn't emphasize which grammar rules should be followed and what are the situations where a particular grammar rule is violated like that. Okay, it doesn't talk anything about correct or wrong, or should be followed or shouldn't be followed kind of grammar. It simply gives us a set of rules. Okay, set of rules, a detailed set of rules, detailed set of grammar rules. But prescriptive grammar has the idea that it's coming from prescriptions. Now, you know, doctors are also prescribing medicine. They say, okay, if you want to get well soon, you should take this medicine. Like that, these prescriptive grammarians tell us, if you want to use language correctly, you have to use these grammar rules. Or you have to use grammar, you have to speak grammar, you have to use language, right, using these grammar rules. If you use language like this, then that is wrong. Both prescribe and proscribe. Prescribe means telling that you should use these rules in order to be accepted what you say as correct. And proscribing means you should not, forbidding, right? You should not use combinations like this. If you do so, then your production will be considered as wrong, is not accepted. Prescriptive grammar has that touch, right? Maintaining standard of correctness in the language. But descriptive grammar doesn't touch that type of an aspect. It simply provides us with a detailed set of rules. That is called constitutive rules. And prescriptive grammar includes regulatory rules. Constitutive rules determine how something works and regulatory rules control behavior. So that is the nature of these two perspectives. Constitutive rules, they simply mention how the system works, how grammar system works. But regulatory rules are there to control our behavior, to control how we use language. Right? If the former is violated, the thing cannot work, right? Former means constitutive rules. If constitutive rules are violated, the thing cannot work. But if the latter is violated, latter means regulatory rules, that means prescriptive grammar rules are violated, the thing works, but crudely, awkwardly, or rudely. You understand? I hope you follow this last line. Last line. If we violate descriptive grammar rules, okay, then we can't use language. The language system cannot work if we violate descriptive rules. But if we violate prescriptive grammar rules, then still the language system functions. It will work, but it looks odd because That is incorrect, right? And we don't feel comfortable with it, but still the system can work. That's the difference between, the basic difference between descriptive grammar and prescriptive. Okay, right. Here you have an example. Hope you have gone through this also. Now, what do you think about this cat the dog chased? It violates the constitutive rules of the language. That means descriptive grammar violated, because by reading this, we can never understand what is meant by this. The sentence is totally ungrammatical, right? And what about the second sentence? He did good on the exam. Where is the problem? The sentence is quite all right, but because by reading this, we can understand what the writer tries to convey us, right? But there is this problem with the word good. He did well on the exam. Should be like that, not good. So there's a problem with the use of the adverb and adjective. It's a confusion between adjective and adverbs in the usage, right? That grammar mistake is there. But still the sentence makes sense. We can understand, but not considered to be acceptable because of that grammar mistake. Okay, right. That is how we can observe the use of descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. Now here we have these fallacies concerning grammar. I think but these are simple ideas actually, simple and basic ideas. By reading them, you can understand, I hope, right? Now only this part of the note contains fallacies concerning grammar. Okay, we'll go through them very quickly. Yeah. Now people, fallacies, as I earlier told you, misconceptions or misbeliefs. They are not correct actually, right? So one such misbelief is that there are languages that have no grammar or little grammar, nothing like that. Every language in this world has grammar in it. So we can't say that languages do not have grammar or less grammar or little grammar. That's a wrong view. And certain types of grammars are simple and hence more primitive than others, while other grammars are more complex and hence more advanced, right? Now, sometimes people think like that. There are languages whose grammar are better than the grammar system or the grammatical rules of some other languages. Better in the sense some are more complex and some are more simple. So people tend to underestimate and overestimate languages based on that idea. Okay, but that is also a wrong view. It's not considered to be correct. And grammar should be logical. That is another fallacy, because it is a fallacy because all the time we don't find grammars to be logical. There are a lot of irrational grammar rules. Now, for example, to form the plural number of nouns, we in writing, yeah, earlier I mentioned that example. In writing, we add SOES, but in speaking, it is not all the time sir sound. Sometimes the, sometimes is, and there are reasons and there are situations where we don't find reasons at all for these things. So we don't find grammar to be logical all the time, right? Because of that, the fact, it has been really difficult for the beginners to follow grammar. If it is logical, then it's easy, quite easy, right? Yeah. And grammar results in deterioration and alternatively evolution. Yeah. Sometimes grammar rules are deteriorating, changing, and that causes sometimes some drawbacks. And also grammar rules are developing, These are some misbeliefs actually, nothing like that. There's nothing called evolution, right? Evolving grammar, but grammar rules are changing. Grammatical system of any language is getting amended, that is there, but not deteriorating particularly. And people are taught the grammar of their native language. That is also wrong, we will, because we never ever learn. No one is teaching us the grammar rules of our mother tongue. We acquire them, right? Not only grammar, vocabulary, everything of our mother tongue we acquire. No one is teaching us. Of course, second language is taught, not the native language, right? And there are completely random differences among the languages of the world. That is also a misbelief. And sentences a person produces directly reflect his or her grammatical knowledge. Not directly, that point is referring to competence and performance difference. Okay. Earlier, I established that fact that there is always a difference between competence and performance. So we can't agree with this idea as well. And there is only one sense of the term grammar. No, grammar can be understood in so many different ways, like descriptive, prescriptive grammar, internal grammar, like that. And equating the grammar of the spoken language with that of the written language is also a false belief. It's a fallacy. Because spoken language and written language can be a little bit different. Now, if you think about Sinhala, okay, there is a clear difference between spoken language and written language. And what do you think about the Tamil language? Is there anyone here available to talk about spoken variety and written variety of the Tamil language? Do you have two different varieties like that, or both varieties are the same in Tamil?
It
Any idea?
differs, madam.
It differs.
Yes,
Right. Yeah. Then what do you think about the English language? Do we have spoken variety and written variety in the English language also? How do you understand that? Actually, we have, right? Some people can argue, no, we are speaking as how we write in English. But there are differences. I'm not telling that we change grammar when we speak. But still, when we talk about the diction, selection of words, that means vocabulary, and the length of sentences, okay, from these aspects, there are clear differences between spoken language and written language in the English language also. So then we can't say we use similar grammar, right? The same way in both spoken and written language. There are slight differences in the use of grammar as well. Okay, right now all these things are misbeliefs or fallacies. They don't actually exist. These ideas do not exist. But still some people believe at least one or two among these, right? Yeah, so you need to, as students who are learning linguistics, structure of language, you need to be aware of this aspect, like what sort of fallacies are available and the need to get away from these fallacies, right? Okay, then now I'm coming to the last section, actually last section in the sense there's nothing to talk a lot here. This is about the components of language. And earlier, several times I made references to components of language, especially when I was talking about language as a system. I told you, okay, there are several different components available in any language. These components are identified as subsystems also, and they can independently function, and also they function in relation to one another. What are these components? Right? We have phonology that deals with the combination of sounds, how sounds, speech sounds are combined. I need you to read this part very carefully, right? Phonetics and phonology, both areas are based on human speech sounds, but phonetics specifically deals with the physical aspect of the sounds, how to produce sounds, articulatory phonetics, and how the sounds are traveling through air, acoustic phonetics, and how the receiver is perceiving the sounds, auditory phonetics like that. Okay. And phonology particularly talks how human beings are combining sounds to express meaning. Sounds as combination, right? To express meaning. That is about phonetics and phonology. And morphology deals with the study of formation of words, okay, in a particular language, and how to classify different types of word formation processes and all these things. Then syntax, it is the particular study area that talks about how to arrange words in a sentence or a phrase. And semantics deals with study of how meaning is conveyed both in words, phrases, or even clauses or sentences. How meaning is expressed, because when we take a single word, it can have so many different meanings, right? Superficially one meaning, underlying another meaning, like that. So semantics deals with that expression of meaning via a word or a sentence or a phrase. And pragmatics also deals with meaning, but in a different kind, right? We study the functions of language, how the meaning of words or expressions changes according to how we use that, according to the context or the situation, right? Expression of meaning depending on the particular context where that word or sentence is used. That is in detail discussed in pragmatics. So likewise, now you have 6 here: phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So these are the different components that are existing in any language, irrespective of what the language is. All these components can be seen in any language. Okay, right. Well, we are going to talk in detail this phonetics and phonology in our next lesson, right? Where we are going to talk about especially phonetics, consonants and vowels, our next lesson. So we will continue our discussion. Actually, I have finished the discussion on the first topic, this one. This part, the nature of language and linguistics, that part I have discussed now. And the second topic, consonants and vowels, we will start the discussion of that in our next session. I think the time is also up. So I'm going to wind up today's discussion. And if you have any issue, any problem regarding the areas I have discussed today and the previous session, you are totally free to bring about them, right? Talk about them in our next session, right? Okay. And we will start the next topic in our next session soon. All right then. We'll see you soon. Good night, all of you.
Good night,
Thank
Okay,
madam.
you.
Miss. Good night, Miss.